Once upon a time in a small village in southern Spain, a series of eerie events occurred that still remain a mystery to the locals. It all started when people started disappearing in the village. At first it was single people who no one noticed, but soon the disappearances became more frequent and entire families disappeared. No one could understand what was happening and where people were disappearing to. The police investigated extensively, but found no clues. However, the villagers began to notice something strange. They saw shadowy figures in the windows of houses at night, and in the morning there were unexplained footprints on the ground. Someone noticed that strange symbols and signs written in blood began to appear around the village. People began to be afraid and locked themselves in their houses. Soon, several gruesome murders occurred in the village, and the bodies of the victims were found with horrific wounds and signs of torture. The locals began to say that the village was haunted by an ancient evil that had awakened and began to live its own life. No one knew how to deal with this evil, and the village was on the brink of disaster. But one night, when a shadowy figure reappeared in the village, a few brave men decided to go after it and find out who or what was behind it all. They went into the woods where they had seen footprints, and soon found a place hidden behind the bushes where an ancient altar stood. But as they approached it, they noticed that something alive was lying on the altar. It turned out that there was a woman bound on the altar who had been brutally beaten and tortured. The men set her free and took her to the village, where she told them that she had been abducted and used as a victim for a ritual calling upon an ancient evil. She told the men that there was an old abandoned house in the woods where an evil sorcerer was performing his mystical rites. The men decided that this was their last chance to stop the evil, so they went in search of the house. They found it in a remote part of the woods, and as they approached the door, they heard noise and screaming inside. They burst into the house and saw a sorcerer who was performing a ritual on his next victim. The men attacked the sorcerer, but he was strong and skilled in battle. The sorcerer seemed to be invulnerable, and the men were about to give up when suddenly the woman they had saved in the woods appeared. She grabbed the dagger that was next to the altar and gave the sorcerer a fatal blow. After the sorcerer was killed, the macabre events in the village ceased. No one knew what had really happened, or why the village had suffered such a tragedy. But the locals remembered the story and tried not to forget that there is evil in the world, which can wake up at any time and destroy everything around it. This story remained in history for the long memory of local residents. It is considered a local legend that parents tell from generation to generation. In modern times, it is considered an ancient scare story that scares children at night. There is no confirmation that it really happened. At this time, people believe it the least. But that altar and the same house stand to this day as an ancient culture of inhabitants, protected and guided visitors to these places.